Welcome to Maximizer CRM video tutorials. This video will show you how to set up the web version of Maximizer CRM from scratch. Maximizer CRM Web Access provides easy access to users. End users need only use a web browser to access the full functionality of Maximizer CRM. There are many benefits to using the web-only version of Maximizer. System administrators install Maximizer on only one server computer, so there's only one machine to upgrade and all users get a new version at the same time. User onboarding is simplified since all new users need is a web browser to access the software. Users can access the CRM system from outside the office. As well, users can access Maximizer from smartphones and tablets with mobile access. Network configurations. The Maximizer web implementation requires a database server, an application server, and a web server. In the simplest configuration, you can use one computer as all three servers, where the SQL Server database, the Maximizer application, and the Maximizer web components are all installed. In more complicated configurations, you can install the SQL Server database on one computer that acts as the database server, install the Maximizer application on another computer, the application server, and install the Maximizer web components on yet another computer, the web server. You can even install the web components on multiple computers to set up a load-balanced environment. Make sure your hardware meets the minimum server hardware requirements for running Maximizer. Setting up your Maximizer web implementation involves four main steps. Set up the database, set up the web server, install Maximizer, and configure the Maximizer websites. Maximizer CRM uses a Microsoft SQL Server database. If you're coming from the Windows version of Maximizer, you should already have a database server with SQL Server set up. Otherwise, you need to install SQL Server on the computer designated as your database server. For information on installing SQL Server, see the SQL Server documentation. If you use Maximizer CRM Group Edition, you don't need to complete this step. The SQL Server Express database is set up automatically during the Maximizer installation. Next, set up your web server. Maximizer uses Microsoft Internet Information Services, or IIS, as its web server. IIS must be enabled on a supported version of the Windows Server operating system. When you set up your web server for Maximizer, you must ensure the correct role, features, and role services are installed on your system. We'll show you how to set up the roles and features using a Windows Server 2012 operating system. If you use a different operating system, the steps will be different. See the Maximizer CRM and Microsoft Windows documentation for more information. In Server Manager, select Add Roles and Features. Add the Web Server IIS role. Add the .NET Framework 3.5 and 4.5 features. And add the role services. The Maximizer web components require the static content, basic authentication, Windows authentication, .NET extensibility, ASP.NET, and all of the management tools, role services. With your database and web servers up and running, you're ready to install Maximizer. The application server runs the Maximizer Administrator module and the Maximizer email service. You can perform most administrative tasks using the Web Access Administrator interface. You'll also need to use the Windows Access Administrator module installed on the application server to perform some of the less common administrative tasks. On the application server, run the Maximizer installation. In the Server Components screen, you can choose the main component of the installation. If you're using different computers as the application and the web servers, select only Maximizer Server. If you're using the same computer as your application server and your web server, you can select both components at the same time. In the installation wizard, continue to select the features you want to install. Next, you need to install the Maximizer web components on the web server. On the web server, run the Maximizer installation. In the Server Components screen, select Maximizer Components for Microsoft IIS. In the HTTP server screen, enter the name of the web server. You can enter the domain name for the Maximizer web application. If you do not have a domain name set up, you can enter the computer name. In the Maximizer Components settings screen, enter the basic settings for the website. If you're not using the web server to host any other websites, select the default website. Next, set up the virtual directories for the Maximizer applications. The names of the virtual directories determine the URLs of the Maximizer websites. You can rename them to set up custom URLs, or keep the default names. Select the Enabled checkbox to specify that the website will be in use. If you don't need to use some of the websites right now, for security reasons, we recommend that you don't enable them. The web components will still be installed, and you can enable the sites later if you want. You should enable Maximizer Web Access and Administrator. You'll also likely want to enable mobile access so users can use Maximizer from smartphones and tablets. Once the Maximizer web components are installed, you'll need to configure the Maximizer websites. You can use IIS Manager on your web server to manage your websites. In Server Manager, open the Tools menu and select Internet Information Services Manager. You can use this interface to manage your websites. Right now, we'll show you how to configure the application pool and customize site application settings. Application pools specify settings that are applied to all websites assigned to the pool. In the Connections pane, select Application Pools. We'll configure the ASP.NET version 4 application pool for the Maximizer websites. In the right pane, select Advanced Settings. Next to Enable 32-bit applications, select True. And next to Managed Pipeline Mode, select Integrated. The Maximizer websites are already set to use this application pool, so the change is applied to all the Maximizer sites. Each site has application settings that let you further customize how Maximizer works. Select the application and open the application settings. Here you can set a default address book, enable and disable a site, and automatically redirect mobile devices to a different site, among many other things. There's more information on these settings in the Maximizer CRM documentation. You can use this interface to further customize how the web server works. For example, you can enable Secure Sockets Layer or SSL. And you can set up Windows authentication. For more information on setting up these environments, see the Maximizer CRM documentation. Accessing Maximizer. Once your servers are set up and configured, users can access Maximizer through a web browser. Enter the Maximizer URL in your web browser. The URL consists of the domain name and the name of the application. Users can log in using the same credentials they use in the desktop version of Maximizer. Thank you for using Maximizer CRM video tutorials. For further information, visit www.maximizer.com.